Let's be real. If someone looked at the standings and saw the Browns sitting at 1 win and 4 losses, they might assume this Sunday's matchup is just another routine game for the Steelers. But anyone actually paying attention knows this couldn't be further from the truth. Because what the Steelers are walking into isn't a trap game. It's a full-blown collision course with their own weaknesses. And the team standing in front of them, the Cleveland Browns, might just be the worst possible matchup they could have right now. Not because of their record, not because of some fluke performances, but because of what they bring on the field, especially on defense. Steelers fans know exactly where the struggles have been this season. The offensive line has had a hard time opening running lanes. The rushing attack has been inconsistent at best. And even though Jaylen Warren has looked like a guy ready to explode for 100 yards any given Sunday, the blocking in front of him hasn't always made that possible. That's a big enough issue on its own. But now, they've got to go up against a defense that's the best in the entire league at stopping the run. The Browns are allowing just over 75 yards per game on the ground. That's not just good, that's dominant. And when your team's most glaring offensive flaw is running the football, that number should feel like a flashing red light. But it doesn't stop there. If you're thinking the Steelers might have a better shot throwing the ball, that maybe they can bypass the wall up front with some quick passes, think again. Cleveland's pass defense ranks 4th in the NFL. They're giving up less than 175 yards per game through the air. So, pick your poison. Try to run the ball straight into the teeth of the number 1 rush defense. Or take your chances against a secondary that's been locking receivers down week after week. Either way, this is not going to be about finding soft spots. There are none. This is going to be about earning every single yard the old-fashioned way. That means trench warfare. That means the offensive line doesn't just need to be good. They need to dominate. Holes have to be created where they don't exist. Leverage has to be one snap after snap. And the Steelers are going to need to stick with what finally started to work against Minnesota and Dublin. Using extra linemen, getting Darnell Washington involved as a consistent blocker, and doubling down on the physical side of their offense. That's not just a plan. That's the only plan. Because this isn't the time to get cute with new formations or test out new personnel packages. The Browns won't give you that luxury. You either line up and beat them man for man, or you get swallowed. And yes, of course, Myles Garrett is the headline. Everyone talks about him. Everyone fears him. And they should. He's an absolute game wrecker. For sacks, 8 tackles for loss, over 20 tackles total, all in just 5 games. But it's not just him. That's the part people forget. On the other end, Isaiah McGuire is no slouch either. He's not just holding his own. He's making plays. A sack for tackles for loss, and even a forced fumble. This guy can ball. And with how the Browns rotate and move Garrett around, you never know where the pressure is going to come from. One snap, it's Brick Jones holding his ground. The next, it's Darnell having to chip and help, and maybe even a back staying in to assist. That's the kind of awareness the Steelers have to bring into this game. You don't just game plan for Garrett. You game plan for the whole front. Because the Browns don't need to blitz to create chaos. They can rush for and still make your quarterback miserable. And for Kenny Pickett, who's been under fire more often than not this season, that spells danger. Especially if the Steelers fall behind early and become predictable. Now, if you're looking for a silver lining, you might point to Cleveland's offense and think, well, they're not exactly lighting it up. And you'd be right, sort of. They're not putting up 30 points a game. But don't underestimate what they've been building, especially with a couple of their young guys who are starting to figure it out. Dylan Gabriel, their rookie quarterback, has only seen the field in 3 games, but he's done enough to win the job outright. No one's talking about bringing in a veteran or making a change. He's the guy now, and he's looked the part. Not flashy, not reckless, but poised. That's the word that keeps coming up out of Cleveland. Poised. He's completed over half of his passes, thrown for more than 200 yards, and hasn't turned the ball over. 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That's what you want from a young quarterback, especially one who doesn't seem fazed by the moment. Add in the fact that he's left-handed and moves a little differently in the pocket, and you've got a guy who's not easy to prepare for on short notice. But Gabriel isn't doing it alone. The Browns' second-round pick, Quinton Judkins, has been just as impressive. He's already racked up nearly 350 yards on the ground, averaging almost 5 yards per carry. And he's not slowing down. He just had a breakout game in London against Minnesota. Over 100 yards on 23 carries. This kid's the real deal. And that, my friends, brings us to the other side of the equation. If the Steelers' biggest issue on offense is running the ball, their biggest issue on defense has been stopping it. That's not opinion. That's just the tape. This defense, for all the star power it has, hasn't consistently stuffed the run. And now they're about to face a rookie running back who's heating up behind a line that just blew up a Vikings front seven overseas. This is not the game where you want to be questioning gap assignments. This is not the game to be missing tackles. And let's not pretend this is just some rivalry cliche where records don't matter because it's the AFC North. No, that's not what this is. This is the Steelers staring directly at their biggest flaws, and the Browns happen to be the team perfectly built to expose those flaws. That's why this game matters. That's why this matchup is so dangerous. Because it's not about talent or momentum. It's about identity. The Steelers have a chance to prove that what we saw in Dublin wasn't a one-off. That they found something real, something sustainable. But they're going to have to go through the fire to do it. And Cleveland's defense? That's the fire. So whatever happens at kickoff this Sunday, know this. This isn't just another divisional game. This is a test. One of the hardest ones this team has faced all season. Maybe the hardest. And if they want to come out on the other side with something more than just a win, if they want to come out looking like contenders, this is the moment to prove it. But let's pull back for a second and talk about something that doesn't always show up in the box score vibe. Chemistry. That intangible energy in the locker room that tells you whether a team is sinking or starting to believe. At the start of the season, if you walked into the Steelers facility, you could feel the tension. Not panic, not finger-pointing, but a weird sense of limbo. Like everyone knew what the potential was, but no one was quite sure how or when it was going to come together. You had flashes from individuals, sure, but a whole team performance? That just wasn't happening. Some players were being left behind. Let's call it like it is. Keanu Benton wasn't clicking. Peyton Wilson looked like he was about to lose his job. Patrick Queen was clearly frustrated, not just with his own play, but with how chaotic things felt around him. He's the green dot guy, the one wearing the headset, the guy making sure everyone hears the call, lines up correctly, adjusts when needed. And when that guy is frustrated, you know it's more than just one or two missed tackles. It's structural. Even guys like TJ Watt, who were usually terrorizing quarterbacks on the regular, looked to step off. Nick Herbig was getting run at over and over again. Half the defense felt out of sync. The offense? It might as well have been in a different time zone. The tight ends weren't involved. The offensive line was underperforming as a unit. There were no consistent rushing lanes. Warren looked like he was on the verge of a breakout, then got dinged up. Everything felt disjointed. The pieces were there, but they weren't connecting. And then came the trip to Dublin. And something changed. It wasn't just that the Steelers won that game. It was how they played. There was a swagger. There was purpose. Guys who had been invisible the first few weeks suddenly looked like difference makers. The offensive line came to life. The defensive front started holding its ground. And more importantly, the energy shifted. Suddenly, you had players looking at each other and going, yeah, this is what we're supposed to be doing. And that matters. It really does. Because it's easy to talk about potential. It's easy to say, we'll figure it out. But when you actually feel it on the field, when it clicks, there's no substitute for that. That's when belief turns into confidence. That's when confidence turns into identity. And against the Vikings, the Steelers finally looked like a team with an identity. Now, they've got to back it up. And this is the part that separates contenders from pretenders. It's not about one good game. It's about consistency. It's about going back out there against a tougher team in a more hostile environment and proving it wasn't a fluke. Proving it's who you are now. That's what makes this Browns matchup so compelling. Because you're not just facing a division rival. You're facing a mirror. This game is going to test every single thing the Steelers have been working on. Every adjustment they've made. Every lesson they claim to have learned in the first 5 weeks. This game is where all of that gets validated or exposed. And let's not forget, Cleveland knows exactly what's on the line for them too. 1 win and 5 losses? That's a death sentence in this division. They're not walking into this game with some relaxed mentality just because the Steelers have momentum. No, they're coming in desperate, hungry, and that's dangerous. That's a team with nothing to lose. A team that will throw everything at you because their season depends on it. So what does that mean for Pittsburgh? It means they can't just match the Browns' intensity. They have to exceed it. They have to bring the same fire they brought to Dublin and then turn it up. Because this game is going to be physical. It's going to be messy. And it's going to come down to who's willing to suffer more for the win. It also means the defense has to take a huge step forward. Because for all the talk about the Browns' rookie quarterback and rising star running back, the truth is the Steelers have the defensive firepower to shut that down. But that only happens if everyone does their job. That only happens if gap control becomes non-negotiable, if tackling is flawless, and if the leaders on this defense, what Queen, Fitzpatrick, set the tone early and don't let up. And on the offensive side, it's going to take more than just Jaylen Warren trying to create magic. It's going to take Kenny Pickett making smart, decisive throws under pressure. It's going to take receivers getting separation against a top 5 secondary. It's going to take Matt Canada calling a game that doesn't just play it safe but dares to challenge Cleveland's defense where it hurts. The Steelers need to be brave. They need to be aggressive. And they need to trust that what started in Dublin can become something real. Because if they can beat this Browns team, if they can punch the best run defense in the league right in the mouth and walk away with a win, that's not just another victory. That's a statement. That's the kind of win that doesn't just move you up the standings. It builds belief. It tells every guy in that locker room that they've arrived, that they can go toe-to-toe with anyone in the league. And it tells the rest of the NFL that this team isn't just figuring things out, they've figured out. But that only happens if they treat this game for what it is, a chance to prove they belong. A chance to show that the progress we saw last week wasn't just a highlight. It was the new standard. And for the fans watching, hoping, waiting for this team to finally make that leap, this is the week you circle. This is the game you remember. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are swirling in Pittsburgh sports circles, and the latest buzz centers on none other than Robert Woods. The veteran wide receiver, known for his precise route running and reliable hands, is reportedly closing in on a deal with the Steelers. And if the chatter holds true, his arrival could shake up the AFC North landscape. Sources suggest that Pittsburgh's front office is eager to inject some experience into a wide receiver room that has been searching for a true leader, and Woods fits the bill perfectly. Fans are already imagining the possibilities. With his track record as a consistent target in high-pressure situations, Woods could quickly become the go-to veteran presence that the Steelers' passing game has lacked in recent seasons. The team's younger receivers, hungry for guidance, would benefit from his steady influence, potentially elevating the entire group. Speculation is rife that Woods won't just blend in. Insiders hint he could assume the room, commanding respect and shaping the culture in the locker room. Rumors also point to the Steelers' intention to leverage Woods' versatility. Known for his ability to line up both outside and in the slot, he brings a dimension that could stretch defenses and open lanes for the team's dynamic running attack. Coaches reportedly see him as a stabilizing force, someone who can mentor emerging talent while still making an immediate impact on the field. The buzz has ignited conversations among fans and analysts alike. Is this the move that finally gives Pittsburgh the offensive spark they've been chasing? While nothing is officially confirmed, social media and local outlets are abuzz with speculation. Could Woods be the leader the Steelers desperately need? Will his presence inspire a breakout season for Pittsburgh's young receivers? Only time will tell, but for now, the rumor mill is in full swing, and all eyes are on Robert Woods as he reportedly prepares to bring his veteran savvy to Steel City. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.